Good morning. I am coming to Facebook and YouTube and in LinkedIn live simultaneously, thanks to Switchboard Live for making this happen. Took a little while to get all three channels working. I had Facebook and I had YouTube working, but now I have LinkedIn working as well. This is actually the first day that I'll be broadcasting up to LinkedIn. And I'm not sure the LinkedIn feed is started yet, so I'm doing a little bit of vamping while we're waiting to get started. And what I want to talk about today is mistakes, making mistakes. I've been doing a lot of work around the house, and I want to be clear, it's not so much I've been doing the work, but I've been having people come and do different kinds of projects in order to improve my house. My goal for this year is to really move my house to a point where I'm proud of it, where it is really my home in the way I want it to be. So I've undergone some minor interior projects, like I had a couple of the doors replaced on the bedrooms. I had our TV hung on the wall rather than being on an old TV stand that we've had for, who knows, 15 years, maybe more. And that allowed me to clear out that whole corner. I took out all the old videos and VCR tapes that we had, everything that, we hadn't touched some of those videos in a decade, if not longer. And so I cleaned all that out. I had our driveway redone. Now, what does this have to do with mistakes? Well, each of these has been a step, a risk really, towards the home that I want it to be. You might say to yourself, well, your intentions are gorgeous. You have a real clear idea of what you want. Where's the risk? Well, the risk is it's expensive. The risk is, what if it doesn't come out the way I want it? What if it's not what I like? And what if I'm disappointed after all this effort? So, each of these things have been sort of step-by-step growth. I also did some work on a hallway that badly needs to be repainted. I spackled all of the cracks and everything, and then I went to start sanding it, and that just turned in, that I was doing myself, my own elbow grease, and that just turned into a huge project, even though the hallway is very small. I mean, we're talking about, maybe 24 square feet, 3 by 6 area, really. So that's only 18 square feet, something really small. But it's also, it's three-dimensional. So there were cracks on the ceilings, cracks on all the walls. So that I'm going to have somebody, that was when I decided, you know what, it works better to have somebody else come in and do this work, particularly for some of the really big jobs like doing the driveway. Our driveway was broken and just chipped, and the cement was falling out. There were whole patches where you could see through to the dirt underneath, and it was very uneven. So if I had clients walking on it to come back to the studio where I'm recording right now, I was worried about them tripping, particularly if it was an evening client and got dark. And I worried both about the liability for that, and I didn't want my clients getting hurt. And the other part is, I didn't want the message. This is the most important part. I didn't want the message going out to the world that crappy, broken down driveway represented. In my mind, I switched to talking about the sidewalk as well, because we also had a couple areas in front of the house where tree roots, for as long as we've lived in the house, almost, over 2 decades, more than 2.5 decades, the tree roots have really broken up the sidewalk. And when people would come by, either just walking or worse, pushing strollers or bikes or skateboarding or scootering, they'd have to watch out for those cracks. And we saw people tripping on them as they walked over those cracks. And so finally, when we redid the driveway, we simultaneously had the sidewalk. This is boring stuff. Why am I going into it? We had the sidewalks redone because what I want to get to the point of is the pride that it brought me. And more importantly, the sense of abundance. Because now, every time I see a mother pushing her stroller smoothly across all the nice smooth sidewalks in front of our house, I am proud. These people don't know me, I don't know them, but I think to myself, this is a gift to you. You don't even know that you've been given this gift, but because of my commitment to improving my house, you get the benefit of being able to just roll past or walk past our house smoothly. And even though none of these people is ever going to thank me, they have no idea what they're thanking me for, I'm proud and I'm thanking myself. That's what happens when we build up abundance. And what I want to do now is I want to talk about the next project that I had in this, which was fixing a fence that had been kind of hanging over. So I'm going to pick up the computer. We're actually going to do a little field trip, see how this goes. It'll also be really interesting to see if we keep the Wi-Fi going. That should not be a problem. So what we have going, I'm walking out into the backyard, and I don't know if you can see, there's our tortoise Abraham. We've got a bird feeder here. I really love watching the hummingbirds with the bird feeder. We've also got a bird feeder up here. I don't know if you can see it because I'm not seeing my image yet, but it needs to be refilled. The birds are eating the food faster than we can keep up with it. But now, if you can, you're seeing down here this whole hallway, this whole kind of passageway here. So what happened was, you can see that this fence is looking really rickety. You know, it's not leaving over. Oh, there's a little squirrel. Hello, Squirrel Nutkin. How you doing? So what you can see is that the fence is really rickety. It was leaning over even more, and there were vines, as there are, you can see back there. I'm going to walk down there. You see there are vines growing all the way back there. Well, that's what the whole fence looked like, only it was really green and lush and flowering. And you can see on the ground here, these are all the vines that were cut. Well, we hired a work person, a woman, to come over, and a handy woman to fix this up and fortify it. And she said, in order to really do the job right, she needs to cut the vines back. And I said, fine, go ahead. I knew they'd grow back. You know, everything will grow back someday. But I didn't realize how intensely she'd done it, and I didn't realize that when she did it, it wasn't really going to, when she finally came to the end of the project, she was like, you know what, I really can't do this without just taking the whole thing down and just basically restarting it. And, you know, I had other ideas about how to engineer this, and I'm kind of regretting that I didn't stay with those ideas. Because now what we've got is a rickety fence, so it's not dramatically better than what we started with, and we've lost all these beautiful vines. And you can already see that these up here, which are really, I mean, these flowers are already withering, you know, because they've been cut from their roots. They're not getting the water and nutrients they need. And at the end of the day yesterday, when she came over and did the last part of the project and put the fence back as best she could, the full import of what didn't happen hit me. The whole idea that I'd tried something and it didn't work. And the sense of mistake, the sense of failure, the sense that, you know, I had tried something and it hadn't worked was just oppressive. And of all the projects that I've been doing, we're walking back into the studio now. Of all the projects that I've been doing, see, this is what the flowers are supposed to look like. Well, those are older flowers. But here we go. Here's these sort of trumpet flowers, you know, when they're in full bloom. You know, all of the effort I've been going to beautify our house. And then when I saw that it just didn't work anymore, you know, that this one part of the project, and then I don't know how long it's going to take for those vines to grow back. We did, when we had that fence installed, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you know, we had to cut all the vines back. So we've been through this before. I don't remember how long it took for it to get as lush and full as it was, but I don't know if you could see, but some of that video, sorry, some of those vines, the stalks behind the vines, are really thick, you know, and it takes time for those thick vines to grow. So I went to sleep last night in a crappy mood, blaming myself, feeling like, you know what, I didn't stand up for the vines. When she said she wanted to cut them back, I should have said, you know what, let's really engineer this so we don't have to cut the vines. And let's talk about braces. Let's talk about some way to prop up the fence so it's not falling over without, what she wanted to do was mount it to the hardware. Sorry, mount it to the brickwork. What I'm talking about here, I really want to get to the point. This has been a little wide-ranging. What I'm talking about here is, what do we do when with our best intentions, we've made a mistake? Things didn't go the way we expected. Well, you know, part of what I had to realize was I was hungry. You know, I hadn't eaten, and when I did eat, it was late. I was tired. I'd had a full day. I'd done my work. I'd met with clients. Um, I'd done other projects that I'm working on. I'm recording an audio program for Scribd, SCRIBD, 6 tools to help you live your bigger, better life. You can also see that course on Skillshare. The Scribd course is derived from my Skillshare video course. Named the same thing, 6 tools to help you live your bigger, better life. I'd recorded that. I'd done some editing on it. I was tired. And so I was in this mental mood of I was down a cord. And that's what I want to really talk about in the last few minutes here, is when we're down a cord and we're blaming ourselves and we're feeling like, you know what, we blew it. We didn't do what we needed to do. We weren't the people. I wasn't the man I wanted to be for my house, for my vines, for my fence. How do we let ourselves off the hook? How do we forgive ourselves? Well, one thing that happened was I just recognized I was in this bad place and I went to bed. And I did the things that made me feel more comfortable. You know, I'm reading a book right now. I'm finding it's a really fascinating book. And so I just soothed myself by reading the book. I sat on the bed. I just, you know, and then when I was sleepy, I went to sleep. And when I woke up this morning, I felt better. Well, the first thing I thought of actually, even before the alarm was, oh crap, you know, the vines are still the vines. The vines have still been cut back. It was the first thought I had this morning. But the energy around it isn't there. I understand that mistakes happen, that we can let the vines grow back, that maybe what we can do is install some planters underneath the fence that will grow up, and the vines from those planters will take hold and we'll be able to beautify it. And within several months, I'm sure, you know, California is very fertile. I'm sure within several months with the proper care, we'll have our beautiful vine, you know, fence back. So I was able to put things in perspective. I was able to keep things right-sized. And that, I think, means a tremendous amount to me, because it allows me to restore my mental focus to a balance. I was able to restore my equilibrium. I was able to get out of the mood, and I was able to focus myself and say, you know what, today's going to be a good day. I made a mistake yesterday. I made a mistake Sunday. Actually, that was the day I gave the permission for the vines to be cut. That doesn't mean I'm a mistake. It doesn't mean the whole day has to be a mistake. So I'm going to be able to go forward. And in time, as I said, you know, our vines are going to grow back. That's the thought I want to leave you with today. How can we take care of ourselves, understand when we're down a cord, understand when our mental approach is coming out of our weakness and not our strength, and how can we care for ourselves, excuse me, give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, and just take ourselves out of the game. You know, that's what I needed last night, and that's what I was finally able to do. And I woke up, and it's a brand new day, and I can approach things, you know, in a better mood. And I spoke with a friend. You know, I talked to a friend about how I felt, and just getting it in, you know, out of my mind and talking to another person about it. And my wife's perspective as well. She was the one who said, you know, we can replant, we can talk to the gardener, we'll figure out what to do. So we can rebuild. We just need to be able to care for ourselves, understand when we're not at our best, and cut ourselves some slack and give ourselves time to regenerate, because feelings are not facts. And as I've talked about in other Facebook Lives, feelings are not permanent. They are actually waves, and they come and they evolve and they change. And again, this morning, they changed, and I'm able to move forward, and we'll deal with the problem, and we'll move on. Thanks for watching. I will be here next Tuesday, 9 a.m. California time. I don't see that the LinkedIn feed worked, so I'll check out the technology on that. But if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.